What's up, everybody? It's Monday, and we are officially 2/3 of the way done with Super Wildcard weekend. And it's been super, and it's been a wild card for sure. It's one of those things that the stuff I got right, I was right on, and the stuff I got wrong, I was way off. So let's just go chronologically, get into kind of my thoughts about Wildcard weekend. The Browns went into Houston and they looked like the Browns that you all know. Stefanski got completely outcoached by D'Amico Ryans. Ryans was really aggressive and basically said, we're going to go put the pressure on Flacco that he doesn't want to have to deal with no matter what. We're going to live and die by this sword. And eventually it got to him, and Cleveland was just overwhelmed by CJ Stroud. He played phenomenal. Cleveland didn't show up. Before I made my prediction, I didn't realize the stats on how bad Cleveland plays on the road compared to how well they play at home. It probably would have skewed my prediction a little bit, but regardless, they turn the heat up on Flacco, and when you turn the heat up on Flacco and you're successful, it leads to bad decision making and mistakes by Flacco. But it was, the whole team did not look good. The defense looked like they were completely out schemed. And sometimes it's like that. Sometimes every play you think they're going to run, they pass, and every play you think they're going to pass, they run. And it just worked out like that. So good job on CJ Stroud and Houston and D'Amico Ryans getting the victory. They have to wait till today to see exactly where they're going to go. Most likely they're going to have to go to Baltimore. And that could be an interesting matchup because they're so young that they seem like unfazed by the big situation. And they're without Tank Dell. So good on them. The Browns look very promising, though. Who knows what their quarterback situation is going to be. But they played their asses off this season, too. And they were definitely the surprise team of the AFC. I guess Houston was a little bit as well. But the AFC South is a weak division, so it's a lot less surprising than a team coming from the AFC North. So that was Saturday's early game. And then we get to the late game on Saturday. Kansas City, Miami. I don't know why I couldn't think of it for a second, but it's because I recorded this video earlier, but I used the wrong camera angle. So the three biggest frauds this season, I've been saying it all season, the three biggest frauds in the league are Dallas, Miami, and Kansas City. Dallas and Miami are frauds because the league had this very weird parity this season. And usually the parity is the league is broken up into four teams. Really good, bad, and really bad. And what I mean by that is you have a 14-3 teams. Then you have your 10 and 7s, your 7 and 10s, and then your really bad teams, which is like 3 and 14. But this season, it seemed like there was no bad teams. There was all really bad teams. And the only reason that the records weren't worse is because when you have so many really bad teams, eventually they have to play each other and somebody has to win. Where sometimes a bad team can beat a good team. But it's very rare that a really bad team can beat a good team or a really good team. And when you have a really bad team and your team is loaded and good, they're going to jump out to a 21-0 lead. Their special teams are going to get, punt returns and field goal blocks and punt blocks, and they're going to get scoop and scores, and they're going to have linemen unblocked getting sacked, fumbles at the 2-yard line and stuff like that. So Dallas and Miami have the same thing that why I called them flaws. They're front runners. They're not good at being the nail. And with Miami, because I live in Florida and I have to deal with these delusional Dolphins fans. Not my boy Nick, because he's like 75% objective. But these Dolphins fans who think this team is so much better than they are, it's infuriating to listen to them. And I knew they were going to go into Kansas City and lose. The worst part about their loss is now for the entire week you have to hear about how great Kansas City's offense is now and the offense is back. Fuck that shit. They played Miami's backups and only scored 26 points. They played Miami's backups and were basically kicking field goals for most of the game until the very end. So I don't want to hear this about how their offense is back. What they did do was they seemed to practice all week. Like, everyone expects this to be a running game. We're going to go practice in crappy weather and just keep throwing the ball. And I think McDaniels from Miami was like, wow, they're going to come out throwing? I guess we can come out throwing too. And that's where it didn't work out. Kansas City knows how to play Tyreek Hill. They lost him on one play that was an underthrown ball that he scored for a touchdown. And besides that, I think he had 4 catches for like 9 more yards. The gimmick is up with the way that the Dolphins run plays, where it's one motion, take the ball, fake the handoff, one read, another read, and then Tua doesn't know where to go. And I don't know if that's his fault, or I don't know if it's just McDaniels doesn't know what to add to it. But the team has a big decision to make. They've got to figure out whether they're going to re-sign Tua, whether they're going to pick a 5th-year option. Is he the future? Is he not the future? And they're going to have some salary cap issues too. They got people that need to be paid. They have people that came over in 1-year deals. So they're going to have some decision making to do in the offseason. Okay, Kansas City moves on. Their defense is stout, but their offense is not what it was in the past few seasons, which is fine. Their defense is solid, but I think that they got away with a lot of victories this year. I think that they pulled a Buffalo a few times where they played really bad games, and a couple of them they came out on top. But I think next week, depending on how things go, like, it could be trouble for Kansas City, but we have to see what happens. If Kansas City has to play Houston, I would probably give Kansas City the edge there, but we'll see when we get to it. Now we transition to Sunday's games. So the Packers went into Dallas basically like playing with house money, and they took it to them. And once again, the Dallas Cowboys, who looked good beating the Giants, who looked good beating the Redskins, who looked good beating the Panthers and the Patriots and the Jets, they played a team that walked in and said, we're not scared of you guys, and we're going to punch you in the fucking face. And boy, they got punched in the face. And once again, Dak making mistakes, them not being able to handle the run. They couldn't get him on 3rd and longs to let Micah Parsons just... It's like Micah Parsons is a freak athlete. Okay? He's listed as an outside linebacker, and it's weird. You used to have it was distinguishable. You're either a defensive end or an outside linebacker, and then it became a hybrid. Now they call it an edge rusher. But it seems to me Micah Parsons is the kind of guy that when it's 3rd and long and he can use his athleticism to beat a tackle and go get the quarterback, he's unbelievable. But when it's 1st and 10 and he has to stick to an assignment, whether it's dropping into a zone or whether it's, hey, if they pass, this is my assignment. If they run, here's the gap I have to fill. That's where he struggles. And when you're able to not get in 3rd and long for the whole game, or a lot of the game, and then when you do get in those situations, you're like, hey, we're gonna run at him some sort of play action or an extra blocker, and wait till the defense breaks down in the secondary. You have what you had yesterday. And I said from the beginning when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, let him sit behind Rodgers for a few years. If I drafted a rookie quarterback, I would make them sit behind some veteran free agent that I signed that's going to go out and not look good, but I don't care. I just want this new guy to learn. Like, this, things are different than college. That's why so many of these first-round quarterbacks don't pan out. Like, you're a first-round, let's say you're a top 10 quarterback. You're going to a bad team. It's going to take you a long time to look good. There's exceptions like Stroud, like Burrow. But for every one of those guys, there's a bunch of guys that fail, and teams don't understand this. If you watch the way that Jordan Love does his backdrop, his crossover, whatever you want to call it, he gets the ball, the angle that he leans at, the way his weight is shifted to his back leg, and then the way that he flicks his wrist as he fires. You could put a number 12 on him and you would think it was Rodgers. He looks exactly like Aaron Rodgers. The way he moves in the pocket, how fast his feet are. He gets a 7-step drop and it looks like he's gone 9 because his feet move so fast and then he goes back, side, fling it. Unfucking real. Dallas wasn't ready for it. And Dallas is frauds. When you go out there and you punch them in the face, you put them down by 2 scores, you make them one-dimensional, you put everything on Dak, you take their defense out of the game because you don't get stuck in 3rd and longs, you don't let their special teams do anything. You let them beat themselves. You let Kevontae Turpin field a punt on his own 5 or 7 yard line or whatever it was. You don't give him the opportunity for a big return. Like, that's how you beat these guys. And Dallas fans have a lot of decision making too. Are we gonna offer Dak another extension? We have all these players that are going to be free agents. Smith is going to be a free agent. I think Gilmore is going to be a free agent. You got to pay CD. You got to pay Parsons. Fuck, man. You guys have backed yourselves into a corner. And I love it. Because I cannot stand delusional fucking fan bases. I can't. That's why I made this channel. Because I needed Buffalo fan bases to realize, like, man, we're not what you think we are. Man. But we're in a good position, ironically. So changes were made, and Buffalo is looking good at a time where a lot of teams that were looking good aren't looking good. So Dallas is gone. I love it because I don't have to hear this fucking piece of shit Skip Bayless talk about how great Dallas is. This marble-mouthed, brain-dead idiot Michael Irvin who shouldn't be on television. I don't have to hear them talk about Dallas anymore. I don't have to hear Chad Johnson talk about Dallas anymore. I don't have to hear any of these idiots talk about him anymore. But they're going to bring it up. It's going to be weeks and weeks and weeks of a team that isn't in the playoffs anymore. And it's fucking ridiculous. Moving on to last night's game, the Lions and the Rams. It looks like in the second half, both offenses got a little too conservative, and that's what ended up costing the Rams the game. I don't think it's that the defense has stepped up that much, but I'm glad that Detroit got a victory in the playoffs. It's been a long time, and when Joe Philbin was fired and Dan Campbell took over, I think that was who was fired, and Dan Campbell took over coaching for the Dolphins for the rest of the season. Then he moved on. I noticed, and I thought, man, this guy is a good coach. He's honestly like a better version of Vrabel. You know, Mike Vrabel they'll say he's a leader of men, but Mike Vrabel needs a talented team to coach and bring attitude to. Dan Campbell took a bad team and brought them attitude, and then he's bringing everything else. Does he go for it on 4th down a little bit too much during inopportune times? I think so. I thought it was a huge mistake to do it in the Dallas game after the penalties. But I also think it's the second to last week of the season. He's trying not to get his guys hurt by playing an extra quarter of overtime or however long it would have been. But he's exactly, and he's a tight end, and Vrabel is a linebacker. He's the opposite of Mike Vrabel. He's the attitude and intimidating guy, intimidating on, the normal people, that the Lions need to come out and say, like, this is how we're going to be. And for them to hold on for that victory last night was really good. They banged up Stafford pretty bad. And the ramifications are huge now because when Dallas lost, now it's like, and ironically, you had Lions fans rooting for the Packers to beat Dallas so Detroit gets to host another home game. So we'll see tonight how it's going to play out. But it's good for Detroit. It's good for football, and we have a different team that looks good. And how ironic would it be that Stafford had to go to LA to win a title? Imagine if Goff wins a title with Detroit. I don't see it happening this year, but you never know. Goff, sometimes when he plays at home, he looks ridiculous. Just when they go on the road, he struggles. So we got 2 games tonight. Starting at 4:30, Buffalo's going to host Pittsburgh. The game got delayed from yesterday. I think it's complete bullshit. Because if Buffalo wins, Kansas City's got 2 extra days of rest. Kansas City's going to have had 2 extra days of rest to go play Buffalo, who's now going to have to play on a short week. I think it's garbage. I think it's the NFL catering to Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's the stupid cunt, Kathy Hochul, or whatever her name, being stupid as well. But she's a shitty politician, and so is Roger Goodell. This game should be over by halftime. Buffalo should walk out there and run these motherfuckers off the field. And that's not how it's going to go. It's going to be a closer game than it should be until midway through the third quarter, and then Buffalo will pull away. That's how Buffalo's been playing recently. I don't see them coming out of it. They didn't play like that against Miami until the turnovers happened. Driving all the way down the field, interception in the end zone. Driving all the way down the field, interception in the end zone. One of 2 things is going to happen. Either Allen's going to stop throwing the interceptions at those times, or McDermott's defense is going to end up breaking instead of saving him. And it's going to be like, well, how could this have happened? Well, it's because McDermott allows Allen to make the same mistakes over and over again. But The fact that they looked really good against Miami's defense in Miami, except for turning the ball over, it's almost like you just couldn't finish the drive. If they start to look like that today against Pittsburgh, and it looks like Buffalo is getting into the groove that they get into for 3 or 4 game stretches, then it's going to be a fucking problem for whoever has to play them next. It's going to be a huge problem for whoever has to play them next, and Buffalo will be peaking at the right time, and look out. Do I think that's going to happen? I'm 50-50 on it. I got to see how if they play well this week, they're going to be looking to dominate Kansas City next week. And, Kansas City, like I said, scored 26 points in bad weather against the Dolphins' backups. So you can miss me on talking about how their offense is back. The later game is going to be Philadelphia visiting Tampa. A.J. Brown isn't playing. I think Philly gets steamrolled. Philly looks like they have a lot of problems that they're not addressing with the media. Sirianni lost both his coordinators, and you could tell he's struggling. Shanahan loses defensive coordinators every year, and nothing ever changes. So some coaches need that, some coaches don't. Maybe Sirianni's not the right guy for Philly. Their offense, for some reason, is way too conservative, and their defense can't stop a nosebleed. I do not like Baker Mayfield, pretty much because of Skip Bayless's love for him. I just think the dude's been overrated, but he's got a loaded team around him, and I think Tampa handles Philadelphia pretty easily. It's crazy to think of both NFC East playoff teams being out in the wild card round, and I get it that the Bucks beat the Panthers but 9-0 in the last week of the season, and everyone's like, look at that, they beat the Panthers only 9-0. Yeah, but the Eagles lost to the Giants, and that game wasn't even close. So something's going on in Philly. I think as when the season ends, you're going to find out a bunch of shit. And if they lose today, Sirianni's fired. Philly fans are not patient. They want a winner now. I don't care what you did last year. You had this collapse. You got to go. Which is what Tennessee should have done with Vrabel last season. So I'll get on Tennessee later. I'll do another video tomorrow. I'll do another one about the UFC that happened this past weekend, which was kind of no big ramifications there. Huge ramifications coming up with the UFC 297, which is this Saturday. All right, my friends, this year's off great. These are some wild playoffs so far, and we're in for a fucking good ride. Stay frosty, motherfuckers. See you on the other side.